when Park will do our comments.
That's great. Father, we come to you again today. We want to thank you, Lord, for all your blessings. We thank you for our county and what you've done with it, how you continue to bless it, how you continue to move it forward. We're so thankful, Lord, for every man and woman that you have placed ahead of us. Father, the decisions they make, the things that they do. And I pray that you continue to give them wisdom and help them in everything they stand and do. Bless our community, bless our county, bless our hospital, bless each and every part of our county. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Thank you. You will join me in pledging allegiance to our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Next item on our agenda is public hearing on rezoning request. First public hearing will be on request by Nicole Richard to rezone 9.94 acres of 169 Texas Chapel Road from Ag 1 to R1. We have Richard. We'll go ahead and address the board.
Sorry, I'm late. Can you miss my yes, I'm looking to rezone some of my parents' land, 169 Texas Chapel Road, so that we can subdivide it and my family can put a house on part of the land.
Board members have any questions for Ms. Richard? I believe it is pretty self-explanatory. You just having a fist fight with your sister, so.
No, not at all.
Do we have something from staff?
Hey, how are you doing?
Yes, staff recommendation is for approval.
Board members have any questions from staff? Hearing none. Thank you. I will now close the public hearing on the request by Nicole Richard and move to entertain a motion with respect to this rezoning request. Is that in three?
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the request by Nicole Richard to rezone 9.94 acres at 169 Texas Chapel Road from AG1 to R1. That is map 106, parcel 060.
Second. Do we have any discussion? Hearing none, District 1, how do you vote? Aye. District 2? Aye. District 3?
Aye.
District 4?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Ms. Richard, you have your rezoning. Thank you. Next item is another rezoning public hearing on a request by H. Taylor Collis Jr. As agent for the state of H.T. Collis to rezone 1.89 acres at 663 Greensboro Road from Ag 1 to R2. And we have Mr. Collis
Yes,
here to address this.
Yes, sir.
Go
Good
ahead,
evening.
sir.
What I'm trying to do is close out Dad's estate, same Steve Collins. We live on the same property there. We had built some equipment shed back 20 years ago. About half of it was on his property, and half of it was on mine. And my son's gonna buy my dad's house and acreage there. What I'm trying to do is just cut those equipment sheds out where they'll be on my property, where they have access to get in and out, to it. That's the gist of it.
Any other questions for Mr. Thomas? We have, thank you, Mr. Thomas. We have staff recommendation.
Yes, staff recommendation is for approval to rezone the 1.89 acres from AG1 to R2 with the condition that the remaining 3,752 square feet, which is 0.086 of an acre, shall be combined to an adjacent parcel and cannot be used or sold as a standalone parcel.
Questions, from the board, from staff?
I do, Mr. Chairman, if I could.
Mr. Webster?
We're going to rezone it to R2, just that 0.08 acres.
No, we're rezoning.
I mean, we're gonna rezone the 1.89 acres.
Right.
We're gonna carve out of that R2 0.08, and it'll be combined with an R2 or,
No, it's currently our AG1. The 0.086 acres will remain AG1, and it has to be combined to the adjacent property that is AG1. The only thing that's being rezoned is the 1.89 acres.
okay, minus the 0.08. I got it. So in other words, the 0.08 acres was ag, now
Right.
it stays ag,
It says
but the other 1.89 is.
that's the part that's being rezoned.
Okay.
And the part that's gonna stay, this, ag is non-conforming, therefore it has to be combined with the adjacent AG1.
Thank you.
Again, I come back to my earlier reference to the conundrum. The total parcel that is the 1.89 acres is being carved out of is actually 2.6 something.
Yes.
And the 3,752 square feet is going to stay as ag one
Right.
and be combined with how much?
The adjacent H is an agricultural lot that's right beside it.
You know, how many acres is the adjacent?
1.32.
1.32 plus
Plus that.
8.2. That is not sufficient number of acres to qualify under ag one, is it?
You can add to a non-conforming lot, you just can't reduce it. You can always make a non-conforming lot bigger. So they're increasing the size, they're not reducing.
And that's where I have a conundrum. If we have a non-conforming lot, it's usually because the allowed uses on it cannot be placed on it without getting.
Well, in this case, we have a non-conforming lot because of the size, it's not the use, it's the size. It doesn't meet the minimum lot size requirement, but it was existing, it's been existing. So what they're doing is they're increasing the size, they're not decreasing the size. So you can't add to a non-conforming lot, you just can't make a non-conforming lot smaller.
Wouldn't you have to increase it up to the 20-acre minimum in order to allow people to use that with the allowable uses such as animal husbandry, et cetera, et cetera?
No, sir, it's existing. The parcel is existing. It's not being reduced. It's already being used for that. It's an existing AG1 lot. So the use has already been established. The only thing they're doing is just increasing it in size. It's just making it larger.
But we're, in effect, creating a 0.8 acre parcel, which is now going to be allowed to be used for purposes that it was not used for in the past.
No, sir, it's being combined with the adjacent lot. It's not a standalone lot. You have a lot that's being increased in size. We're not leaving it as a standalone lot.
We need some discussion. And I still don't understand how we can take an R1 parcel,
It's not zone
make it
R1.
R2 parcel and make it part of it,
It's not.
ag one.
It's not zone R2. It's zone ag 1. You're rezoning a portion that you're cutting off from that. The property is zone AG1. The part that's being rezoned to R2 is the 1.89. The remaining AG1 part, which was already AG1, is being combined to another parent parcel, and you're just enlarging that parcel. It's the AG1 part that already exists. Adam?
I think Ms. Jackson's explaining how it normally works. Very few uses have a lot minimum like ag lots. Ag lots usually have a bigger requirement, and I guess what we're finding here is that we have, whenever our agricultural designation was adopted, we've had several lots that don't conform to the size be set. And so really what you're doing is, there's a couple of ways to skin this cat, but part of what you're doing here is,
Excuse me.
yes, sir. Part of what you're doing here, part of what you're doing here is you could term this as a subdivision rather than necessarily a rezoning, because you are basically subdividing or changing the lines of a parcel to create a new parcel. However, given that you are dealing with a different zoning classification at the end of it, it would be appropriate to do it in this manner to make sure you satisfy all state requirements with respect to notice. So the better way to describe it is that you're basically combining and redrawing existing parcels, and then after you do that, you're rezoning one of the resulting parcels. Now, you do have the issue of not meeting the ag requirement, but Ms. Jackson is right, in the planning realm, all you can really do is, rather than have a 0.8 acre lot exist there now, if the applicant is willing and everyone else is okay with it, you would rather combine that to get it closer to the overall amount to make the property hopefully one day usable and for the destination it has. The only other way of going about it would be to just rezone everything to a proper zoning classification, but this wouldn't be the first time that what's been proposed has been done, and you would be allowed to do that. Now, obviously, you may have issues in the future if someone were to come to you with a similar lot and we wanted to do what I just said, basically set the precedent for how we would handle those. But for the most part, as long as the applicant's okay with it and everybody agrees, then this would be a method to get to where I think everybody's aiming for. But I do understand the heartburn because you aren't fulfilling what our code has. Unfortunately, we're already outside the bounds, and if you can do that, I certainly wouldn't want you to divide further and have an existing 0.8 lot at the back of it. So,
but why not simply include the 0.8 acres in the rezone?
Because they're
and
selling
the
it.
whole parcel.
Because the current 8 acre is what's gonna go to the adjacent property, which is ag. The adjacent property is agriculture, because they want to combine it, that's why they're rezoning, they're cutting it out.
but is there a specific structure or use for that little piece back there?
It's gonna be combined with the adjacent property right here, we're selling it and they want to.
But does that 0.8 acres contain any structures that
Just
need to go with the?
Equipment shed, tractor shed on the backside, that's what it's on, just equipment shed. Tractor shed has been there like 20 years.
Are there any other questions for staff? I think fortunately this is also in District 3.
No,
Or maybe it's District 2.
no, actually, so. But if I could just ask this one thing. All right, so how many acres do you normally have to be a conforming use in AG1? How large does a property have to be to qualify for AG1 normally?
20 acres.
It has to be 20 acres. And there are certain uses that are allowed within that AG1. Now, if you have a non-conforming property, a property that is smaller in acreage, obviously before zoning or whatever, than created as AG1, would the owner of that property be able to do whatever is allowed under AG one, or would the size of the property preclude that?
No, if it was existing, they are allowed to do whatever is allowed in that zoning district.
Whatever is allowed in AG one, they can do.
Because it was existing prior to. We're not changing the zoning.
Right.
The only thing we're doing is the portion of the AG one that's remaining from what they're asking to rezone, they're just gonna combine it to what they already have and make that larger.
So be closer to conform.
Right, so,
Closer to conform.
right.
Yes. Thank you.
That's why we don't want it to stand alone, because it's not conforming. It's 0.086 of an acre. So in order for them to do it, it has to be combined to, the adjacent property, which is AG1.
I have a motion, Mr. Chair. Is there any further discussion? Commissioner Reed?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we.
Excuse me, I'm sorry, just a point of order. I'm going to close the public hearing and now move on to entertain a motion with respect to this request. Commissioner Reed, sorry for
I would like to make a motion that we approve the request for H.T. Collins Jr., agent for the estate of H.T. Collins to rezone 1.89 acres at 663 Greensboro Road from AG 1 to R2, map 095, part of parcel 013, with the remaining 5,200 square feet shall be combined to an adjacent parcel and cannot be used or sold as a standalone parcel.
second. And motion seconded. Do we have any further discussion? Hearing none, District 1, how do you vote?
Aye.
District 2?
Aye.
District 3?
Aye.
District 4?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Thank you, Mr. Wallace. Thank you, Lisa. We'll continue our discussion later. Next item on our agenda is a regular business meeting, which begins with public comments. Anyone signed in? Do we have a signature stamp for Mr. Don? You are signed in again, please.
Good evening. And as you recall, at the first meeting of this month, I spoke about the less than honorable probate judge and what I expect this board to do the new election to finally take that bonus away that she's been collecting for 8 years. Another mystery tonight is, 4 years ago, a commissioner from the second district struck a deal so she could run again for the term that she is serving. At the time, it was said that she made a deal with the IRS so that she could run. Apparently, somewhere along the line, that deal dropped out because we're going through the same thing again. I certainly wonder what's going on. That's my comment.
Thank you, sir.
Ask me and I'll tell you, sir.
So,
Ask me and I'll tell you.
well, respond at this point.
I do, yes, sir, I understand the rules.
Next item on our agenda is item number 7, which is approval of the agenda. Does anyone have anything that they wish to add, remove, or change the order on the agenda. I have one thing that I would like to add to the agenda as a discussion item only, and I guess that would be probably number 15A, minutes discussion of a potential change in our county ordinance, section 66-76, having to do with developmental standards for the Ag 2 district. No action to be taken tonight, but I would like to just briefly mention an intent to bring that issue to the next meeting. Is there anything else? Hearing none, we have a motion to approve the agenda as modified.
Move to approve the agenda as modified.
Second. Motion second. There is no discussion. District 1, how do you vote? Aye. District 2?
Aye.
District 3? Aye. District 4?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Next item is item number 8, which is the consent agenda. Which includes the minutes of the April 1st regular meeting and the minutes of the April 1st closed session meeting. Is there anything there that anyone wishes to take out separately? Hearing none, the chair, sorry.
Can we act on, B?
Yes. Yes. The minutes of closed session are available in the clerk's office. No, just closed session is confidential, but the minutes of that are available for any of the commissioners to read in the clerk's office. And assuming that all the commissioners have read those, we can in fact approve them. Now, if you haven't read them, should have. I have a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Mr. Felty was going to make a motion to accept it. If not, I have a motion that we act on B separately, sir.
We have a motion to approve consent agenda item number 8.
Second to that.
So leaders.
We have a motion, we have a second. Yes. Commissioner Reed has seconded that. Now, any further discussion? District 1, how do you vote?
Aye.
District 2?
Aye.
District 3? Aye. District 4?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. We have a motion with regard to consent agenda item number B. Yeah, motion to approve.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
We have a second.
Second.
Motion second. There's no discussion of that. District 1, how do you vote?
Aye.
District 2?
No.
District 3?
Aye.
District 4?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Those minutes are also approved. Next is item number 9, authorization of the chair to sign a resolution for Veterans Wall of Honor Park Phase 3. I believe that, copy of that resolution. This is, I believe, Commissioner Webster's item, as we discussed it. So I will let Commissioner Webster offer discussion and or.
Mr. Chairman, you may have somebody
I'm
sign.
sorry. Yes, we have someone signed in, Mr. Mandel signed in to address this issue, Doug. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, exactly 11 months ago tonight, I stood at the very same podium and requested you to approve Phase 2 expansion of the Veterans Wall of Honor Park. You did so unanimously that evening. And 6 months later, we actually dedicated that expansion phase at 11 a.m. on November 11th. Many of you were there. The park has continued to be an inspiring venue for our residents, an attractive destination for visitors to our county. As an aside, I wanted to bring to your attention, some of you already know this, that just this past Friday, we hosted approximately 450 bikers from northern Georgia who came to Putnam Town, specifically to visit the Veterans Wall of Honor Park, to sit down and have lunch before they went on to less important destinations. I've been asked by the American Legion and the Veterans of Foreign Wars, some representatives of which are here this evening, to serve once again as the project coordinator to implement a phase 3 expansion on the site presently occupied by the so-called old jail. This final phase, and I mean final, has been designed to complement the existing adjacent park areas and will be designated as a Veterans Memorial Garden. It will be dedicated to honor those veterans who've given their lives in the service of our country during the past 240 years. It will be a unique memorial venue in Georgia, and will be an integral component of the county's Wall of Honor Park. On the screen is projected an artist's sketch of the garden's components, or there was anyway. There we go. Madam Clerk, if you could blow that up. Good. At the center, okay, thank you. At the center will be it's in blue up there, will be a large, continuously flowing water fountain surrounded by 4 steel 8-foot park benches and solar lights. Radiating from this fountain are 4 curved concrete pathways, each terminating at the parking areas and adjoining sidewalks. The red symbol right in the center, VMG, Veterans Memorial Garden. There will be extensive landscaping, as we've done before, with trees, shrubs, and bushes, and most importantly, the installation of 16 specially created walkway signs. Each sign will commemorate one of the 16 wars in which our county has had more than 1,000 casualties. I think you'll understand what's up on the screen now. It may be many more than you thought. And several of those who were in that war are here tonight. Thank God. That's an example of what the 16 signs will be like, scattered throughout the park with the 16 wars. The site presently has on it an old building, which is in major disrepair, as you all know. Except for a brief period a few years ago, when one of the lower rooms was used by Better Hometown, the so-called old jail has been empty for many, many years. It has never attracted any real buyer. It has never attracted any real renter. Nor do we believe it will do so, should you all decide that you want to advertise it before you make a decision. I will tell you that it is not listed on the Federal Register of Historic Buildings at all, and that I checked. In order to accomplish this expansion, the building will have to be demolished, and we need the county to cover the cost of that demolition. I understand that an outfit called SACAL, S-A-C-A-L, Environmental and Management Company in Macon, has offered to provide the licensed personnel, equipment, and materials to conduct asbestos, lead inspections, and to perform the abatement, transportation, and disposal of such materials to an approved landfill at a cost of $35,000. I also understand that the county can handle the demolition, transportation, and disposal of the non-hazardous materials at a cost between $10,000 and $15,000 using our very talented staff. On behalf of the two veterans organizations, we thereby respectfully request that you authorize this project to be so funded and that you approve, as you did twice before, the Phase 3 final expansion of this park as set forth in the resolution before you. And now it comes up. It's pretty complete and it's very specific. We will again, as we have in the past, rely on grants, donations, and contributions from interested friends and neighbors, and from generous business organizations and foundations to create and build this final expansion, which we estimate will cost between $40,000 and $45,000. I know it's out of order, but Mr. Chairman, should you all have any questions, be happy to answer. Thank you, sir. Madam?
I'll now turn over the discussion on continuation of this discussion to Commissioner Webster.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think it is due in no small part to the fact that the VFW American Legion have twice before, as Mr. Landau has suggested, has come before us and said they were going to do something. They said what they were going to do, and they said when they were going to do it. And they have done it every time. I look at that old jail sitting there, basically deteriorating and becoming an eyesore. It really does take away from the rest of that area of the street. And I think we could have a better use for it than for it to stand there as it is. I recognize that this is a discussion item that probably needs some major discussion, but this is one way to get the process started. And this is one way to bring it before you. I would welcome any comments that the commissioners have. I recognize that there may be some marketable value to that building. And I think if there is, we ought to go out and find out immediately. The longer we wait, the longer it deteriorates. And assuming that there might not be any marketable value, then I would suggest that we adhere to this resolution. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
We do not yet have a motion, but I will allow continued discussion. Commissioner Ward.
Mr. Chairman, I fully agree with District 4 Commissioner. The old jail has been sitting there, I don't know exactly how many years, but it still hadn't produced any interest whatsoever. This is a great interest. And I was there Friday when some of the bicyclists came through, and I would like to see this change made, but I would also like to include public bathrooms. It was kind of bad to see the bicycles had to bring their own bathrooms. So, let's do it. VFW and American Legion have gotten together, put their shoulders together, and I stood right with them, and they've gotten this done. I believe if we're going to promote Putnam County, the city of Edenton, as a tourism attraction, let's give them an attraction. The jail is not an attraction. Thank you.
Commissioner Reed.
Well, and just because, I mean, it is on the agenda for discussion not in favor of moving forward at this time until we, really can see whether or not we can do something else with the building, if there's anything decided. This very well could be a very good project. I believe it's a good project, however, I think that it would be best for us to do our due diligence in finding out whether or not there's another use of someone else's interest at this time. Not saying that it is, but I don't think we need to act too hastily.
Commissioner Foster?
Well, Mr. Chairman, I agree with the philosophy of doing this, and I don't really have a problem with the resolution at all. We need to determine a couple of things, and I think we can probably do this in pretty quick order. But there are some things that I think have to come in the proper order, and one of them would be to get an actual estimate of what it would cost for the county to demolish the building. With all due respect, we would have to get actual bids on that or quotes on that from somebody. And that decision, I think, before we turn the property over, the decision to demolish the building ought to come first. I think that's something that I would like to see the staff generate for us, would be an estimate for the demolition costs of the building. Hopefully our public works staff could help a great deal with that, but as I understand that building with 2-foot thick cast concrete walls and mesh and rebar throughout it, we may need professional help to do that, and I'm not clear on what that cost would be. So I don't want to be negative about this, but I do think we need to move forward in order with this project, and part of that would be to find out what the actual cost of demolition would be prior to passing a resolution to turn the property over. But overall, I think the veterans have done a great job with the 2 pieces of property that they've had. I think it's been a benefit to the community, and they've done everything they said they would do. It's the last piece of property on this. We've sold 1 piece, 2 are already being used for the veterans wall. It's the last component. I don't think there's any question that the county has a responsibility to determine what to do with that old building. And demolition, we certainly haven't had anybody, as Mr. Landau speaking on behalf of the VFW American Legion said, we've had no interest in anybody purchasing the property. No one said anything to us about that. So I don't want to seem like I'm putting this off, but I would like to move forward and get information from the staff on what the cost to us would be to demolish that building before determining to return the property over to anyone. So.
Well, I would concur that the Veterans Wall of Honor, has resulted in an excellent venue. Let's say, my concern here is that if the cost of demolition of the building, and I personally happen to like, I'm probably the only one in Putnam County who thinks that actually has some architectural significance and would like to actually see it stay, but that's neither here nor there. But we do need to get an actual estimate. And the other thing would be that the property itself, which consists of approximately 1 acre of potentially commercially suitable property in the downtown area, if the building were removed, might very well constitute something that someone would want to acquire and put a new structure on. It may be that if the estimate for removing the building is, as stated by Mr. Landau, something on the order of $50,000, that someone might be willing to purchase the entire property for simply the cost of removing the building, and then therefore have a 1 acre parcel available for future use, that we might actually see some interest in, the purchase of that. I don't know how we can possibly ascertain whether there is any real interest in the purchase of that property with or without the building, unless we advertise it for sale. And the only way we can do that is to declare the property surplus, if that is the desire of the board, and to put it up for bid. If there is no interest in it, or, you know, the bid is $1, then, you know, so be it. But I don't see any other way of ascertaining truly if there is an interest in that parcel.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Foster?
I appreciate everything you said. However, item number 9 is simply for the authorization of the chairman to sign the resolution for the Veterans Wall Phase 3. It's not to determine what the cost of demolition is, whether we want to demolish it, whether we want to put it up for sale. None of those items are up for vote tonight.
But that is not a point of order, since the other discussion has gone to, you know, the point of demolishing the building. Mr. Landau has said, as part of this, if we agree to this resolution, that it will be the county's responsibility to demolish that building.
And that wasn't brought to us in the agenda. That's why I'm saying there are things we just simply have to defer to progress. That's all.
But if you would allow me, we can have a second point of discussion. My point simply is that we can't ascertain whether there is any other interest in this. We had a couple of years ago an interest in leasing that building, actually from 2 entities. One of them is now leasing space in the old Manatee building. The other one withdrew from the interest. And maybe some interest would come back again. But my preference would be to go ahead and declare this property surplus, if we can't do it tonight's meeting. But we could put it on the agenda for the next meeting, first meeting in May, and to truly ascertain. Now, any time we put anything out for bids, we have reserved the right to reject any and all bids, so we can change our mind if, you know, if there is no interest. And to the commissioner from the 3rd District's point, we do need to get some harder numbers on what exactly it would take to tear down a bigger building. Commissioner Foster, did you have some additional?
Well, the only thing I would say, Mr. Chairman, is that the veterans have already proven what a valuable asset both the memorial wall and the additional park are. This is the last piece of property in that section, and it fronts directly on Marion Street. It would seem to be a contiguous use of that property, and we most certainly have set the precedent of allowing for that use without declaring the last 2 pieces of property surplus. So the precedent with regard to this park, not necessarily with regard to all other uses, because certainly in most cases, your point would be well taken. We can't give away, so to speak, county property, but this isn't really giving property away. This is allowing the use that's already proven to be valuable for us. So I would like to know what the cost of demolition, what the cost to us is going to be to comply. That means a lot to me, and I'd like to see us before to understand those costs before we turn the property over. But in terms of surplusing the property, since we've already set the precedent on the other 2 properties, since this is a continuance of a project that was begun 2 years ago, and since both of those other components have been completed to everyone's satisfaction, although I understand absolutely the principle behind what you're saying, I do. And anyway, in addition, that can be discussed when we determine what the costs to us are to demolish the building. We can discuss that in the next meeting.
Mr. Chairman, I understand procedures, and I hope that the veterans and was show patient and procedures. But for all these years, until this interest came, hadn't been any. It's been a closed building for X amount of years and hadn't been any interest. But I am willing to, be patient. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if you will allow me to ask Mr. Landry a question. You can answer from right there, so let me quickly. What was your timetable for completion? Were you trying for the 30th of November again?
I didn't specify that because, I recognize that there might be some additional concerns this evening. We have no interest in acquiring that property. The county owns the entire Veterans Wall of Honor Park. It belongs to the people of this county. All we got was permission to put up the walls of honor. So we don't want it declared surplus because we want the county to keep it. It should be the people's park. I don't think, unless we're very successful in raising necessary money in the next couple of months, I'm not quite sure we can again repeat by getting it ready on November 11th. So I'll be honest with you. My outside goal would be next Memorial Day, not this coming Memorial Day, but a year from now. Will give us a little bit more breathing room to raise the necessary funds to do it. So, again, on behalf of two organizations, we certainly have no objection if you all want to canvass the world and see if anybody's interested in acquiring that property. But please do not declare it surplus, because then it's no longer county property. And it's important that it stays county property. That's part of the park. Please. Thank you.
Just as a point of clarification, if we declare it surplus and we get no interest in it, we can always rescind that declaration and continue for the county to own it. But there is no, or even if we do get a bid and we reject any and all bids, we can still reverse our stance and keep it at county. So declaring a surplus, to me, is only a way of formally asking the world if there is any interest in the purchase of that property.
My reason for kind of asking the question is that it seems to be that there is a little due diligence that's needed to satisfy various members of the board. So I wanted to be sure if we did delay it, that it would not impact the schedule that y'all have. So it sounds like as long as we do it quickly, or rather quickly, y'all can live with it. Okay. Thank you.
Do we have any other discussion? Chair calls. Chair will now entertain a motion with respect to this request to authorize the chair to sign this resolution.
Mr. Chairman, I would move that we table this item subject to it being put back on the agenda at an appropriate time following the county manager providing certain cost figures for demolition and other matters that might be necessary for us to consider.
Second. Motion second. We have any discussion of the motion? Hearing none, District 1, how do you vote? Aye. District 2? District 3? Aye. District 4?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. We appreciate your interest in Spring Down and veterans. And we will try to move along with this as expeditiously as we possibly can.
Thank you.
Next is item number 10, which is a request for waiver of interest, penalties, and fees on warrants and
Mr. Chairman, before we I'll be abstaining from discussion and voting on this issue, as, my wife and I both have contractual, business dealings with the rates.
The chairman is refraining, recusing himself from the discussion and vote on this. We, the rest of us, are capable of handling issues. Chairman will entertain a motion with respect to the request for waiver of penalties and interest by the rating. Do we have a motion?
I assume that this is in the 3rd district, since I don't recognize the map or parcel number. I'm just trying to determine if one of the commissioners has if it's in their district.
As a point of information,
On Army Road, right here, midterm left, and step on the left. I'm pretty sure
that would be the business location.
yeah, I'm pretty sure it's the mechanics area. Tire shop. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm 99.8% sure that's what it is.
Well, the letter is, from Lakeside Tire and Service LLC, so assuming this is the property, and it would be in the 3rd district, but since the 3rd district commissioner has recused himself, and the chair cannot bring a motion, I would leave it up to, Commissioner Order. You have a motion, sir. Mr. Chairman, totally confused with this. Commissioner Reed, do you have a motion?
Request for waiver of interest, penalties, and fee conditions. Mr. Chairman, I don't have a problem with making a motion due to, we've set a precedent with this already. So therefore, our motion is to deny, because that's what we've always done.
We have a motion to deny the request for the waiver of penalties and interest. We have a second to that motion. So, Commissioner Ward is second. Do we have any discussion? Commissioner Reed?
Except for, I will restate, my reason for making the motion to deny, because we have set a precedent as well. That's what our discussions has always been that, they were to pay the penalties and interest. Unless there's any more.
That was, I thought that there had been a birth of me, had said before. I can't remember the other one.
Commissioner Webster, you
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There is no doubt that I am sympathetic to the plight that these folks are in. And as much as I would like to try to help them out, I can only do that personally. I can't do it on behalf of the taxpayers. And I guess I would be asking a rhetorical question. Has there been any attempt to establish some kind of a payment plan to stretch this out over a longer period of time?
I'm not here tonight representing this matter for the tax office, but that falls into my realm of responsibility under Ms. Lancaster, tax office. We have attempted to set up payment plans. We haven't had very good success so far. And this has gotten to the point that it is on our list for us to proceed to collect the taxes on this property. And, so that's where we're at. Of course, Ms. Lancaster, if one of the residents of the county requests something, we will submit it to y'all. But we haven't, they paid some, but then it kind of fizzled out. That's just me working on memory, sitting here, I don't have all my paperwork in front of me, but so far my memory's been pretty well, so. Thanks, sir.
What's the question? I have a question for clarity.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Hobbs, you're speaking of a payment plan with these particular time, this particular account.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I appreciate you letting me ask the question to clarify. It does appear that there is actually 2 years in arrears and no attempt to set up a payment plan. As I said again, I have sympathy for their trying to get their head above water, but I don't think that we can start making exceptions even for that.
We have a motion to deny the request for waiver of penalties and interest. We have no further discussion. Hearing none, District 1, how do you vote? Aye. District 2?
Aye.
District 4?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. The request is denied. The chair, as a point of personal privilege, would request that we take a 4-minute recess.
Please, sir, second.
We're going back to the speed session. Technical assistance to the development of an economic development strategic plan. This is a request that will go through the Putnam Development Authority to the Regional Commission. And I believe that, as far as I know, this is a no-cost service that the Regional Commission will provide this. But I would ask Commissioner Webster, since you are representative of the Regional Commission, is that correct?
That is correct, sir.
So the chair will entertain a motion with respect to the authorization of the chairman to sign this letter to the North Georgia Regional Commission.
So be it.
Right. We have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion of this? Hearing none, District 1, how do you vote? Aye. District 2? Aye. District 3?
Aye.
District 4?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Sorry, that letter will be signed as soon as I find a blue pen. Next is item number 12, which is appointment to Putnam Development Authority. And this is to replace the member, Kay Stevens, whose term on the authority will expire on May 1st and has notified the county that she will not be applying for an additional term. We have 3 applicants, Mr. Lola White, 3rd, Joshua Daniel, and Jerry Hobbs. And I would ask the commissioners to please nominate one of these individuals, and if that nominee gets a second, they will then be voted on. District 1, do you have a nomination?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I nominate Jerry Hobbs.
A nomination of Jerry Hobbs. We have a second for that nomination.
Second for discussion. I have a question.
Commissioner Reed, do you have a nominee?
It would be Jerry Hobbs if I can get my question answered.
No. Once we get through the nominating process, we can discussion. Commissioner Foster, do you have a nominee?
Yes, sir, I would like to nominate Joshua Daniel.
We have a second for Mr. Daniel.
Second.
Daniel is nominated and second. Commissioner Webster, do you have any other nominee?
No, sir.
The chair would like to nominate Lowell White III. Do we have a second for that?
Second.
We have a second. We will now have discussion of the applicants. First nominee was Jerry Hobbs, nominated by Commissioner Ward and seconded by Commissioner Reed. Rather, you have a discussion. Commissioner Reed has a question.
I do, Mr. Chairman, I really can't recall our ordinance right off, but, or the computer employee, is that, what does our ordinance say about that?
Commissioner, our office did look into the ability of employees serving in that capacity and without no conflict.
Thank you, then my nomination stands.
Any other discussion on Mr. Hobbs? The next nominee was Joshua Daniel, nominated by Commissioner Webster, or Commissioner Foster, and seconded by Commissioner Webster. Commissioner Foster, do you have some discussion?
I really don't have any pearl of wisdom except to say that we're fortunate in this particular case to have three very worthy applicants for the job. And, being that I represent the 3rd District, I'm very gratified to see that we have 2 applicants from the 3rd District, both of which are extremely well qualified. In fact, Mr. Hobbs in the 1st District is perfectly well qualified. I just simply believe that Mr. Daniel, operating his own business in the district, and having graduated at Terry College of Business, in leadership Putnam, and also being involved in a development LLC, I believe, in the county. Just on balance, I support Mr. Daniel.
Further discussion? The 3rd nominee was Lowell White III. My nominee, in my nomination was based primarily on the fact that he did serve as the chairman of the Eaton and Putnam Chamber of Commerce, and I think through that has gained considerable knowledge of businesses throughout the county. He is also a graduate of Georgia Tech, which I won't hold against him entirely. But he is in business as a builder developer, as everyone knows. I believe Lowell White II, his father is largely responsible for much of the development of Putnam County. And I think that as a developer, he does, in addition, have a good sense of some of the things that are going on and could be going on in Putnam County. So I would rise to support him to go on the development authority. And I would concur with the gentleman from the 3rd District that we do have here a difficult decision because we have 3 very highly qualified and superior candidates for this one position.
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Reed.
Yes, sir. I just want to say that we talked about those other 2 candidates, which are good candidates, on their own business or whatever. Mr. Pop on his own business in real estate. When you work with real estate. Okay. I didn't know. Leave that now.
Any further discussion of any of Mr. Weston?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I'm not sure which one you're rising to.
Actually, I'm gonna rise to talk to all 3 of them.
All right.
I think any one of the 3 would be excellent candidates. They all would bring something slightly different, you will, but equally important to the board. I think add something that, the development authority would be highly appreciative of. They're slightly different in what they would bring, but equally. To be very honest, Mr. Chairman, I just wish we had 3 positions open. I really do. This is gonna be a toughie, and I hope that anybody doesn't get selected feels it's not like they are not qualified, they are excellently qualified. So I could vote for any one of them, and I'm not sure which one I'm gonna.
Well, since we have 3 nominees, I believe that our fallback position is rock, paper, scissors. Who wants to start? We do have 3 nominees, so it will take a majority, of 3 votes to appoint, one of them. And we will vote by calling the name of the individual that you wish to vote for. District 1.
Jerry Hobbs.
District 2.
Jerry Hall.
District 3.
Joshua Daniel.
District 4.
Joshua Daniel.
I suppose I could vote for that nominee. And that would, then what would we do?
Second round of votes.
Huh?
Second round of votes. Like the Republican presidential.
Donald Trump.
Now, let's not
I'm
try,
bound on the first ballot.
let's not do that stuff.
Lowell White the third. We have a second ballot, District 1. Call out your vote.
Jerry Hobbs.
District 2. Jerry Hobbs. District 3.
Joshua Daniel.
District 4.
Joshua Daniel.
I am not wearing my convention hat tonight, so I will go ahead and end the suspension, break the tie by voting for Joshua Daniel. If the clerk would please inform Mr. Daniel of his appointment. Our next item is item number 13, which is appointment to the Lake County Area Development Authority. And again, we have, we have 2 positions. We have 2 positions to vote here, and we have 3 applicants.
Okay.
Again, I would ask the commissioners to nominate, and if that nominee gets a second, we will, I believe we'll go one position at a time. So we don't have to nominate.
Can we go right in?
We go right in.
Yes.
Our bylaws and ordinance do not allow for the nomination or election of anybody who has not actually applied by the date. In the next portion. What is the position of the local community? Okay, the Waco County Development Authority is a combined Green Putnam County authority, which is largely responsible for issuing bonds. I mean, they really don't do a whole lot. Well, they have the authority to issue bonds for development projects.
For the whole county?
For both counties.
Can I clarify? Someone that.
Terry, yeah, I've only been to one of their meetings. and that there was a kind of a non-meeting, so you're currently a member, are you? Or
Yes.
ex officio or something?
Ex officio. The reason that that joint development authority was formed was so that we could get the extra $500 in the, job tax credits. All counties who were a member of a joint development authority were issued that additional 500. So our, job tax rates went from $12.50 to $17.50. We need,
This is for any hiring.
it's basically, yeah, if companies that move to your county are qualified for a job tax credit, they would get what level tier you were, tier 3 in a joint development authority, so our number would be $1,750 per job. And that was the primary purpose. We don't have borders that touch because Lake County, so there hasn't been really an opportunity to do any joint projects, say a industrial park that we would share or something like that, because we don't have any borders to touch.
But it does have the authority to create such things.
Well, we don't have any funds, so
I didn't say funds, I'm talking about just the authority.
I believe that if there was a project that came up, where it was something, I've never had to deal with it in this joint development authorities.
How about a ferry across the lake?
We do have a bridge.
Yeah, but taking a ferry is such a pleasure and a much more scenic way than it is.
Now, we could apply for grant money based
Well,
on that.
all I'm saying is the authority, you do have the authority to apply for funding for a joint project.
That can be, yes.
So, but my understanding is that the development authority has really done very well.
Yeah, there's not a lot we can do. We do meet quarterly and we try to do projects together. So if there's something that we can promote between the two
The
counties.
one meeting I did attend, I tried to make a request that the authority look into the formation of a CID. I was informed that you couldn't do it as joint counties, but each county could do it separately in an effort to have two connected projects or systems, improvement districts that would enhance each other. I never heard back anything about
Yeah,
it.
the only thing it has to be done by county because of the taxing
I
authority.
understand that, but it's no reason we couldn't be coordinated.
And that could be
Sure.
something that we could work
Wake up
on.
County Development Authority.
Right, that's the kind of thing we could work.
That's what's confusing me is the name Lake Oconee, where only, applicants from the 3rd district have it. Ever been advertised for the whole county?
Anybody in the entire county.
The name just kind of threw me off.
But you had part of Wake up County in the second district.
2nd district,
Or, I mean, the first district.
Lake Oconee.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah, you did.
sure.
Okay, that'll be,
If you're pulling for that, there.
okay. It was just my ignorance, I just never heard of the Lake Oconee.
Very good people have this.
No.
Anyway, we have 2 positions open. Commissioner Webster?
Could I ask a question, please? I assume Greene County has 4 members too?
Right, there's 4 members in Putnam County, 4 members in Greene County. Now, Greene County has determined that theirs have to be represented, one by the county, one by City of Union Point, Greensboro, and do they have another city? Yeah, so that they have determined that they have to be from specific areas, where here we just generally, whoever's in Putnam County, 4 seats. We wouldn't
That's what I'm
specify.
trying to determine is what their representation look like. And it's basically focused on a narrower geographic area. In other words, each representative is more representing a smaller area of the county, or
Yeah,
the appointment is made out of it.
that's why that area, so, you know, a smaller town has a less diverse population.
Any other questions? All right, again, there are two positions. Let's do the, one at a time. The first position is, for a continuation of the membership for Robin McNeil. Do we have a nominations for that position? District one, do you have a nominee for that position?
Robert McNeil.
Second.
Motion, nomination second. Commissioner Reed, do you have any other nominations for that position? No. Commissioner Foster, do you have any other nominations for that position?
No.
Commissioner Webster?
No.
Chair has no other nominees for that position. There being only one nominee, we will go ahead and take a vote on the appointment of Robin McNeil for another term. District one? Aye. District two? Aye. District three? Aye. District four?
Robbie McNeil.
And the chair votes aye for Robin McNeil. The second position, I believe is, one that is been vacated. Is that correct, Madam Clerk?
Joseph Snyder. Currently held by Joseph Snyder.
But he has not applied for the reappointment. So it is a position to replace Joseph Schneider, with the County Area Development Authority. Do you have a nominee, Commissioner Ward?
Joshua.
We have a second.
Second.
And a second. Commissioner Reed, do you have a nominee?
No.
Commissioner Foster, do you have a nominee?
No, sir.
Commissioner Webster?
No, sir.
Chair has no other nomination, so we have only one nominee, which is Joshua Daniel, to replace Joseph Schneider. District one, how do you vote? District two?
I'm not voting for Mr. Gerald, I don't have anybody to vote on, I don't know these people. We just put Joshua on one, I'm not saying.
District three?
Joshua did.
District four?
Joshua Daniel.
Chair votes Joshua Daniel. Clerk will please inform the answer of his. And if he turns it down, he will be forced. Next is item number 14, which is something that is carryover from our last meeting. And now that everyone has had a chance to review the second chance drug and alcohol testing policy, we have a choice: zero tolerance or second chance, and
Mr.
the
Chairman,
chair will entertain a motion with respect to one or the other.
point of order. I believe at the time when this issue was tabled, there was a motion on the floor to approve the zero tolerance. Because I made that motion. I think it was seconded.
I believe
No,
that the issue was postponed to the second.
right, I thought there was a motion on the floor that we tabled until this meeting.
The motion is ordered.
There was a motion by Commissioner Foster to approve the zero tolerance policy, seconded by Commissioner Webster. And then there was a motion by Commissioner Reed to postpone it, seconded by Commissioner Ward, and that's what was approved.
So with the table,
So the gentleman is asking that we take the original motion from the bill.
yes, sir.
Okay, so the motion is to approve the zero tolerance policy.
Yes.
The second was from Commissioner Webster. So we are discussing that motion.
I can have a discussion, Mr. Chairman.
That is your motion, sir.
Thank you. At the meeting that we tabled this discussion, it was discussed that there might be some ways that somebody could take over-the-counter medications or whatever, and therefore fall under the zero tolerance, even with a false positive or something, and lose their job unnecessarily. But after reading the zero tolerance policy, it seems to me that there are adequate safeguards and set close at whatever testing is taken. And it also, looking at the second chance proposal, does not just discuss if there is some kind of over-the-counter medication or whatever, or medication that someone might be on that would cause them to lose their job, but it does talk about a second chance and rehabilitation, and coming back with quite an onerous set of requirements to the county to follow up should someone fail the test, and then want to come back and be reinstated. And so it would cost the county a great deal of time and trouble. But the other thing is, I just think there are enough people that we can hire that understand that they simply cannot have alcohol or drugs in their system, that we can hire people of that quality for the few number of jobs that we have. And I don't think it's necessary to have a second chance policy with people that have, in fact, violated the no drug use and no alcohol provision of their job. So I stand by the original motion.
Commissioner Webster, as the seconder of that motion, do you have discussion?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. As best I could tell, reading through it, it's word for word the same, except after your first offense. In the zero policy, after your first offense, you're referred to I can't remember what the SAP was, some kind of substance abuse professional, and then you're terminated. If you have a second chance, you're referred to this substance abuse professional, and they decide if it is worthwhile to retain you and give a report back. And then, yes, there are some things that the county has to do to monitor that. So the only thing that I could see anything different was you do everything the same, except in the second chance, you do have to, if the substance abuse professional suggests that this person has a rehabilitation, by the way, the rehabilitation and all that is paid for by the employee. There's no cost to the county, if I read it correctly. So I'm probably not going to be able to support the no tolerance. I believe people do deserve to have a second chance under. There's always circumstances, and if this substance abuse professional sees that somebody's trying to abuse the system, they can recommend that they be terminated.
Commissioner Ward, do you have any discussion?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I cannot support zero tolerance item. And question is, transit drivers, it's just for all county employees? Just transit? Well, why that?
There are some statements in here that says, all safety sensitive positions.
Right, it's tied into federal funding. You're right, correct.
And there's also some statement in here that the county takes responsibility for non-safety sensitive positions. In other words, all employees fall under this. Is that correct, Mr. Chairman?
My understanding of policy is it covers certain safety sensitive employees. It wouldn't, but it's all related to funding tied into the federal government. So if the position is funded by the federal government, they'll be under this program. This wouldn't be something that would be, applicable over other county employees, and it wouldn't, even if there's some difference between what we have on our books for our employees, transit employees would be treated differently with respect to this policy.
Well, deputy sheriff, not safe to say, he couldn't, one of the county employees driving a tractor along, run over, so, I mean,
We have a zero
this,
tolerance now, sir.
huh?
We have a zero tolerance county.
For
policy.
them already.
Yes. Well, and
So
plus.
this is not just discriminating against transit drivers.
No, the sheriff, and the sheriff's deputies fall under the sheriff, however, the HR policy that the county employees follow now is a zero tolerance policy. So this would be in contrast to that, so.
We're bringing the transit drivers under the same law the rest of them are on already.
Practically speaking, you will. It's just that if you're gonna take federal money for your transit program, the federal government requires you to adopt one of these policies. So it's classic federal money, attachment.
May I ask a question then? So in point of fact, if we accept the second chance policy before us, we will be giving the transit drivers leeway that none of the other county employees have.
Right, they will have an additional strike, if you will.
Point of information, does, our current, quote, zero tolerance policy for non-transit drivers, run 25 pages?
No, I think it's less than 25 lines in these are manual.
So, in fact, 25 pages of zero tolerance or second chance puts, I think, a lot more onus on transit employees than our 25 lines in which our manual does.
A good portion, Mr. Chairman, as long as we're sort of in a free-form discussion, a good portion of the 25 pages protects the employee. So you could also put it the other way, so you could say that our county policy, which is shorter, doesn't have the protections that this does for retesting and making sure that the findings are correct and that kind of thing, that are included in the zero tolerance program that is set forth by the federal government in order for us to receive funding. Both policies qualify for that. But it would put the transit drivers be more lenient to the transit drivers than it is for other county employees. And I just have to repeat, I just think it's a very small number of people. Perhaps if you were in DeKalb County or something where they have 1,000 transit workers, you might need something, a policy somehow for this kind of rehabilitation, because it might be hard to find 1,000 people who don't abuse drugs or alcohol. But in Putnam County, we're talking about a very small number of people who should know from the get-go, do not apply if you can't meet this test. And I don't want to find out that we've had somebody out there driving handicapped and elderly people around the county even one time that are using recreational drugs or alcohol.
Right, further discussion?
It sounds discriminatory.
Again, I just
be discriminating against others.
now, I just as a matter of policy am against anything that says zero tolerance, which means that there is mandatory statutory requirements built in, with no ability to show any flexibility.
I would certainly suggest, Mr. Chairman, and not that it's my position to suggest, but if it's the will of this board to make to put the transit drivers under a second chance, then it would make sense to bring an issue before this board to change our county policy with regard to other county employees.
Here, here. Any further discussion? The motion on the floor is to adopt the zero tolerance, policy. District 1, how do you vote?
No, Mr. Chairman.
District 2? No. District 3?
Aye.
District 4?
No.
Chair votes no. Do we have any other motions? Well, we have to have one or the other of these policies. Do we have a motion on the second chance policy?
So, Mr. Chairman.
Second. We have a motion to adopt the second chance policy, and we have a second. Any discussion of that? Hearing none. District 1?
Aye.
District 2? Aye. District 3?
No.
District 4?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. We'll adopt the second chance policy, and the county manager could see fit in a subsequent meeting to review the drug and alcohol policy for other employees other than federally funded employees, to see if we need to amend that to offer them as well a second chance or consider discussion of that issue. Next is item number 15, which is discussion and possible action concerning the May 17, 2016 board meeting. There will be voting in this room May 16th through the 20th. So we either need to move the May 17th meeting to a different location or a different date. I believe there are some pesky things from the planning and zoning people who are supposed to deal with them May 17th meeting. So it would be my preference to retain the meeting on the 17th or as close to that as possible, and if need be, find a different venue for that. So I would like to Commissioner Ward,
I agree with that, Justin. Yes, I agree with that. Try to keep it on 17, just follow the one page.
Now, will the commissioner's room also be compromised during that time for the store voting machine? No. So that could be available. And since we will not allow any public speakers at that meeting, we'll cut down on the audience considerably. But we will have to listen to staff recommendations on some zoning issues, which could. So my sense is that we will retain the meeting on the 17th at the 6:30 evening meeting. Voting will just about be done, but we will hold that meeting in the commissioner's conference room. Do we need a motion on that, or can we just take a consensus? We'll take a motion. We have a motion.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Second. Any further discussion?
I guess we have to do that because the meeting room is changed, right? Don't we advertise this one? So, okay.
District 1, how do you vote? District 2? District 3?
Aye.
District 4?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Now we have the added item number 15A for discussion, and all I want to do was to inform the board that I intend to bring at our next meeting a proposed, change to the zoning ordinance, item number 66-76, which is the developmental standards for Ag 2, which currently is 5 acres as a minimum, and to change that to a minimum of 10 acres. And the reason for that is that I do not feel that 5 acres is sufficient to call it a agricultural parcel. And the fact is that 5 acres under our current zoning could be justification for putting a 5-acre parcel into the conservation exemption, whereas 10-acre parcel would be more consistent with the state requirement for 10 acres. My understanding, and again, we can have some discussion on this from staff, perhaps Mr. Engler and Mr. Hobbs can inform us of that, but it was my understanding that the local decision as to the number of acres that qualify under ag is set by the local ordinance. As long as you designate a property as agricultural usage, it can qualify locally for the conservation. So I would like to have some clarification on that, but if there is clarification that says that, yeah, the 5 acres does qualify, I would like to propose that we amend that to increase it to 10-acre parcels. But, as I say, this is just for discussion today, and I will, after researching it a little bit further, an item for action. I will mention Commissioner Ward.
So, since this is just for discussion, in my district, you have a lot of, ag property. And if someone just have a chicken coop, you know, it's about 10 acres. And
Under ag 2, you can't have a chicken
coop. What agriculture could you have on?
Well, the allowable usage does not allow for animal husbandry. Is that correct?
That is correct. What we currently have in the agricultural zoning district, when the district was changed, the regular AG property was 5 acres. That destination went to AG1, which is 20 acres, and therefore you have a lot of non-conforming AG1 parcels that are 5 acres, 6 acres, all in 1, 2, 3 acres. So what you have is a lot of non-conforming AG1. You have a lot of non-conforming AG1 parcels. But they're all over the county.
And all of those non-conforming would be both grandfathered because they existed prior to this. And all I'm saying is that if you change the ordinance to make it 10 acres, that anybody who wishes to rezone from, say, residential to Ag 2 would have to have a minimum of 10 acres going forward.
Right. It wouldn't affect anything that's already existing in your AG1 or 2.
What is the current acreage requirement if somebody wanted to change from, say, R1 to Ag 1?
The Ag 1 is 20 acres. Ag 2 is 5 acres.
Ag 2, so
Ag 2.
the change you're recommending is in Ag 2.
Ag 2 goes from 5 acres to 10 acres. So that if someone wanted to, if they had residential property, say 5 acres, and they wanted to change it to Ag, you would not be allowed with this change in the ordinance. Whereas the 5 acres could be changed from residential or commercial or whatever to agriculture add two, under the current ordinance?
Typically what Ag 2 is used for now is for like someone who, like horses, wanna have horses of that nature and have a house. So therefore, we went to a smaller, classification, AG2, just requiring them to have 5 acres instead of the 20 acres, opposed to having the 20 acres where more like farm type, development. You can actually have the business, in AG1 where it's associated with the residents, the ag use is in AG2.
Correct me, did you not tell me at one point that in R2, if someone has a 5-acre parcel, that they can have horses?
They can or can't?
Huh? They can't, but they can?
No, they cannot. They cannot.
So
There was a
you
time.
cannot have horses in any residential zone?
No, you cannot. That is, let me correct that, let me clarify that. There was a time when the ordinance did allow that in, R2. So if you have an existing property that has not changed and it's R2, and you've had the horses there prior to the ordinance changing, then yes, you can.
What was the date of the ordinance change?
I will have to look it up.
Could you let me know?
I will. I wanna say it was in 2007, but I'll have to look and see.
If you have a R2 zone, or any residential, can you have llamas? How about goats?
If you have them, no, you can't.
Okay.
That will only apply to horses, if you had the horses prior to.
Donkeys?
I would say donkeys you
You go with the donkey, that's all I'm on.
Yeah, I would say donkey would be in the horse.
Huh?
Llamas
But, do let me know when that ordinance.
I'll look for you, I think it was in 2007, but I'll gladly look to see.
2007?
That's when I think it changed. And if they had them prior to that and they have maintained
But
the
it was,
use,
but only in R2.
only in R2. Yeah, that applies.
And was there a minimum acreage?
5 acres. They had to have a minimum of 5 acres.
We still need to put this on the agenda for the next week?
Yes,
Oh, okay.
we were just discussing.
should be fascinating, Mr. Chairman. Really know the public will show up in droves.
Wow.
Isn't it?
Wow. Good weather in this town.
A lot of people with an individual horse that might not want to have 10 acres.
Yes. If they had it before 2007, R2, but if you have a horse in a 1 acre parcel in an R1R, do you think they're going to be able to keep the horse?
We have worse than that, sir, I promise you.
Huh?
We have worse than that. I can show you stuff.
Do we have a code enforcement people? Okay. Any further discussion from the board? If not, we will move along to item number 16, which is the infamous county manager.
Just one update, the Egg Farm Road, spokesman in Northern County had finished their section. So it is up and running. Soon to be straight on their side. That's all.
No report.
Commissioner announcements, Commissioner Ward.
Nothing, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Reed. Commissioner Foster.
I have nothing, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Wilson.
Yes, I do, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Commissioner Webster has newly returned from the old country over in Alabama.
There's a different time zone over there, by the way.
Yeah, they are different.
I would draw everybody's attention to the map of Georgia. And if you can locate Putnam County, I'll give you a hint, it's the red one right there in the middle of all the white ones. This is the Georgia State Small Business Initiative. And Putnam County has over $1 million benefit from that particular loan activity. And when this was briefed, it's being briefed all over the state to every regional commission. Putnam County is being held up as the poster child for using the Georgia State Small Business Loan Initiative. Does anybody care to tell me what that poster child is? Roger? Ms. Swindler?
Alto Scientific.
Alto Scientific, and no kidding, that is their poster child of their briefing as to how to do business. And basically, the small business thing is half of it, there's $48 million available from the federal government. Half of it is to guarantee the banks their loans, and the other half is actually in a revolving loan account that makes direct loans. And in the case of Alto Scientific, they did all of it. They loaned some money and they guaranteed. The project was so expensive that it took 2 banks, and this small business guaranteed parts of both of the bank's loans, which allowed the banks, which could not take on that type of, as a result of some of the banking laws that changed after the recession, they couldn't devote that much money to that project, but because part of the loan was guaranteed by the federal government, they could. And that's what's theoretically caused Alto Scientific to be successful. I only bring this to everybody's attention in that still is available, and there is actually $10 million unspoken for right now. And they're kind of saying, why don't y'all have another Putnam Development Authority initiative, and we'll be glad to give you some more money. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Small businesses, is there anything less than 500 employees?
Yes,
I don't know what the definition
yes,
is.
less than 500.
But the Alto Scientific was a $10 million project, and the company only had to put in less than $1 million in equity. The rest of it was through banks and the guarantees and the loans from this organization. So you don't have a lot of money that's for small business that ought to be working. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I only have one quick thing, and that is that, again, the regional commission has sent out information to push forward with the T-SPLOST roundtable formation, and we need to get comments back to the Georgia Department of Transportation with regard to the criteria for projects that will be included in that. And I believe the county manager has sent out some website information that I hope that all of you will read and come back with, from that information, come back with recommendations and comments to the Georgia Department of Transportation as to why their criteria may not quite fit. I think it probably, how many pages of documents did you have in there?
Oh, there are hundreds.
There was one document that was too large to send out by email, but was available in Paul's office for everyone to stop in and read.
Mr. Chairman, if I could just, I've read through those papers very carefully. And one thing that stood out to me while reading them was the number of references made by GDOT to the point of doing things to convince the voters. Just over and over again during the context of the paperwork, it referred to picking popular projects which might be agreeable to the voters, ensuring the voters, so that they'll vote for this, that everything can be achieved within a 10-year period. It's making sure that the voters, and I just thought that perhaps the decisions for which projects were going to be done would be based on public safety and transportation and those kinds of issues, rather than just on popular projects to get people to vote in the affirmative. That was just my one observation, Mr. Chairman.
I'm sure the county manager will transmit that to GDOT as part of the comments. That's all I have. I'll entertain a motion to end this.
Move to adjourn.
Second. District 1? Aye. District 2? Aye. District three, District four.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Thank you.